Okay, if you're wondering why Robert Downey Jr. has traded Steel in Iron Man for Marshmallow as Doolittle, this is the video to watch. He basically chose Doolittle as a movie that he can produce from his studio, Team Downey, because it gives him the chance to actually make money from his studio, yet with less risk and on a smaller budget. Let me explain how this happens. Doolittle is something that every kid knows about, every kid loves. So you're going to have a situation where when that movie is released, the kids are going to be bugging their parents to go watch Doolittle. They'll be like, Mommy, Daddy, I want to go watch Doolittle. Alright, so the sales are really going to be easy to come across. Well, I'm sure that's the assumption that they've made. Also, if you look at the trailer, the way that Doolittle has been created, it probably was created in studio. All those effects don't happen out in the real world. This minimizes costs. If you actually check the details for Doolittle, the budget is about $170 million, which is something that a person with clout like Downey can get from investors, be it a loan or whatever it is. So basically he traded strength for kindness and softness and whatever you want to call it, based on a financial decision. Doolittle is a very good avenue to take, least risk, or so is it. There are some potential pitfalls with actually following this path, because Doolittle is something you really cannot expand on beyond what is already there. It's a veterinarian, or whatever we call it, a doctor of the Queen who lives with animals, right? If you look at the plot for Dr. Doolittle, it's almost the same as other silly movies that are coming up, like Jungle Cruise, other silly movies that actually have already been released, like Anaconda's Hunt for the Blood Orchid. I know Anaconda's fans, probably think I don't like the movie because I've mentioned it in a previous reviews, I think 2-3 days ago, but the plot is the same. Dr. Doolittle basically is a guy who was the veterinarian and doctor of the Queen of England, something like that. And then what happened is his wife died, and then he probably just went into hiding, sort of like self-imposed exile, until the Queen's daughter became ill and he had to embark on a journey with his talking animals, the animals that he talks to, embarking on a journey with them to some mysterious island and to find the cure for the Queen. If you look at Jungle Cruise, it's a New York City pharmaceutical company that sends some scientists deep into the jungle with Frank, who is Dwayne Johnson in that movie, to find some tree of life or something like that. If you look at Anaconda, Hunt for the Blood Orchid, it's basically some cats in Indonesia. You're going to find that blood orchid, which is seen as some fountain of youth as well. So it's the same plot which is being recycled. Whether you people are going to pick that up or not, it's something else, but it's basically a gamble that Robert Downey Jr. is taking with this movie. Even if you look at the plot, what also can affect it, it's going to be something which you're probably going to enjoy, but for those with the keen eye, you're probably going to zone out somewhere in the middle, because it's going to be the same old thing, just a different day. If you compare the plot to the top 3 movies, fantasy movies, which are all Lord of the Rings installments, you realize that it's got no chance. It's pretty straightforward. When you look at Lord of the Rings, it goes from where Frodo and Sam start making the perilous journey in Middle Earth across various places to actually go and destroy the One Ring at Mount Doom. People fighting Sauron and his forces and whatnot. We have talked about Lord of the Rings enough in the past few days, but that's basically the benchmark when it comes to fantasy movies. And if you've watched Lord of the Rings, that this is not actually going to come close. Let's make it a bit easier. Let's compare Doolittle with the top 10 fantasy movies that are currently out right now, to see if it can actually crack the top 10, if it's actually a movie you can actually hope or anticipate to watch. In addition to that, let's give you a ballpark of what level this movie is probably going to be at, so you know how to plan your diary, if you're going to make time for this or not. But it probably does not matter if you actually make time for Doolittle or not, because Robert Downey Jr. has targeted the kids, is manipulating the kids with this movie. You're basically going to be forced to go watch it if you've got kids. Okay, so let's see what we have in the top 10 compared to this movie, and you'll understand exactly why it's not like a big epic thing to look at. We'll start with Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. That's on number 1. Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. That's the top 3. You've got Lord of the Rings basically dominating that. Then you've got The Green Mile, Tom Hanks, Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, It's a Wonderful Life, Pan's Labyrinth, The Princess Bride, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. So you can see where Harry Potter is actually coming up, such a renowned franchise, at number 9 of the top 10, because fantasy is something actually a lot of people are good at. Then there's The Wizard of Oz. And if you look at the years in which these movies were released, quite a number of them were pre-1990 movies that have not been removed from the top 10. So looking at Downey and the plot that is pushing right now, there's a very small chance that that's going to work out. Now, where would this movie probably end up in terms of rankings? Probably next to Beauty and the Beast. If you watch 2017's Beauty and the Beast, it's another movie that probably got away with the whole brand recall thing. All the kids want to watch Beauty and the Beast. Every kid is going to watch Doolittle, and it's going to make money. So people advising Downey, they have been very clever. Low budget sort of high impact movie. Dr. Doolittle has got every chance of cracking to 800 million before people realize that it's actually a rubbish movie. I was actually looking at the trailer. It's very touching, and probably that's how we're going to get things going, going to get things moving. But as a movie in itself, looking at it, might not cut it. The danger is the distributor who is pushing it. Universal Pictures has got no business in the top 10. It actually does have no movies cracking the top 10 for fantasy. So it's a chance Downey Jr. is taking, and it probably was the route he had to take, because you know the less successful studio is in a certain aspect, the more corporated they'll be. So he probably could have come up with better terms. That's why he probably chose Universal Pictures. If they break the top 10, number 10 is Wizard of Oz. I don't see him beating Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, so probably not gonna crack the top 10, but gonna make some money. Distributor, probably chose the distributor for strategic reasons. I've taken that it's not the best distributor to go with right now, so that's a danger to the movie. Our problem also is the director that they've chosen. You see, he's coming up from the bottom with this, with Team Downey Studios, so he's basically having to think. He probably doesn't command as much respect as a studio yet as he does as an actor, so he has had to make compromises. One of them is Steven Gaghan, who does not really do much in terms of film. His last film was in 2016 called Gold. It was a rubbish movie. Before that, there was Syriana and Abandon. He probably does a movie every 4 or 5 years. Why he chose him, I don't know, but he's not a very good director. I'll give him a director rating for this. The purposes of this movie of a 1 out of 10, which is very important because the plot is not very strong. The way this movie is directed is going to be the most important thing. This guy is probably a budget issue. Something that you might want to watch. So as I read more of these things, my potential rating for the movie goes down, and this affects whatever recommendation that I give you. So let's go to the trailer, which is the most important part of this analysis, because this movie is mostly going to be about how you feel about it, what you think about it. Because if you try to think around it, you're not going to come up with much. You're going to be disappointed. But if it makes you feel good, you probably will watch it and ask people to watch it. So let's see if he managed to capture people as much as he should in this trailer, because it's basically what's going to separate success and failure in this movie. As the trailer begins, you immediately see Robert Downey's main strategy in action to make you feel good about this movie. As it starts and the birds are flying and the landscape is all green and all those colors sort of like, I don't know, stimulate certain parts of your brain, make you feel all teary-eyed, all happy, all light. You know, this is exactly what this guy is going for, but the plot is definitely shallow. Execution of this is marvelous. They actually didn't play. What a wonderful world. I mean, it definitely is in sync with what's going on there, even though for the theme song I'll give it a rating of 7 out of 10, because it only shows one side of the movie, which is the wonderful world aspect, but then does not show the other side of the perils that Robert Downey Jr., Dr. Doolittle, is going to go through as he goes to that mysterious place to get that cure for the Queen's daughter. So wonderfully executed. People will just be feeling good in the movie, probably not even paying attention to what's going on, and I think this is what Downey Jr. is going for. Then you look at the animals. It's a really good thing. I mean, if you want people to feel good, do animals, but it seems like they were chosen deliberately that movie, they're usually the most popular animals on earth. So they're basically going for the animals that people love and care for, and they've omitted animals like snakes for obvious reasons. You don't want to scare the kids, maybe, since this will be the main audience. Let me know in the comments below how you think the animals on Doolittle were chosen. I think they were chosen with the kids in mind. They were also chosen because they are popular animals that people already don't know that they like as a collective, but they actually do. I did my research. These are some of the most popular animals on earth. So it's a really well thought out strategy that Downey has gone through. My worry though is the animals themselves are acting better than Robert Downey Jr. My question to you again is Downey too used to being still as Iron Man? He has done so many Avengers movies, and since 2016 it's only been Avengers movies for him. Is he a little rusty? Is he finding it difficult to change character to actually act in something else? You know, some actors find it hard to recover from certain roles, like King Joffrey. I am told the tabloids he actually is not recover from being King Joffrey and is now Joffreying away daily. Imagine that you're his family and you have to contend with King Joffrey on a daily basis. Fine, he's not killing people because he doesn't have the power, but he's being annoying as hell. Let's look at the last 4 or 5 movies that Downey did that were of Avengers nature in a row. 2015 Avengers Age of Ultron, 2016 Captain America Civil War, 2017 Spider-Man Homecoming, Avengers Infinity War 2018, Avengers Endgame 2018 as Tony Stark. So now, changing from that Stark to Doolittle, it's showing in his expressions. It's not bringing out that emotional charge that we require for this movie, and as the lead character is going to actually be a problem. Lucky for him, he's surrounded by a lot of animals all the time who are probably going to be doing a very good job to cover for that, but I'm not going to be impressed by Robert Downey Jr.'s acting. He's not bringing out the Doolittleness. I mean, check it out for yourself. His face seems pretty blank. He's not bringing out, you know, those expressions. And it looks like at the end of the day, Dr. Doolittle is going to fall in love with the Queen's daughter. That last scene where he's actually walking out the door and looking at his house and thinking, what a wonderful world. Probably saying, hey, I went on this perilous mission, I came back, I saved the Queen's daughter, now I've scored, the chick is mine. This probably points to the fact that there's going to be another Doolittle from Robert Downey, depending on how this one does, which is probably well financially, not sure ratings wise. You'll probably have a situation like in Despicable Me, where Gru and the minions and the little girls are then joined by that whoever woman that he married to bring Doolittle to. It's so obvious how these things usually are put together. I'll give you a recap when the next Doolittle actually comes out. I've got a long memory like an elephant. I don't forget. So apart from the animals are acting well. They're going to put in a good shift. Downey Jr., I'm not so sure about him. It's not going to win him any awards. Definitely the way that he's acting in that movie. Let me know what you think, but this is what I think. The animals are going to hold this movie up and do what Downey Jr. is not able to do right now. That's to adjust to a different role outside being the steel, which is Iron Man. So that's it, my trailer reaction for Dr. Doolittle. It's Downey basically trying to make a quick buck for his studio, taking the safest route to the money. Very slick, but I'm not buying that. You know me, I've got that third eye that sees everything. So if you want more insights, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it, put a comment down below, let me know what you think. I'm going to keep going until I get it right for you guys. Downey is here to make money. Do you think so, or is actually interested in the art side of things? I don't think so. It's looking pretty straightforward what he's trying to do. This is a cash cow movie, like a whole lot of other cash cow movies, trying to get his studio off the ground with some titles under, and I'm seeing him actually doing a sequel to this or whatever you call that. So cheers, until next time.